Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this session on success with service and asset management for aerospace and defense. Today, we'll hear from Siemens and IBM together, where they'll discuss how our two technologies are coming together to help you drive success in aerospace and defense. So presenting with us today is Brian Johnsen from Siemens. He's our Teamcenter product manager, and Brett Hillhouse from IBM, the global industry leader. So let's go ahead and kick things off. I'm going to turn it over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Carrie. So let's get started with the content for today. So as someone working on producing a product, an asset, a system, I have my view in the life cycle of that product, much like this river. I've got data that's flowing into me. I've got data that is going to flow downstream. But while that data is here, this is where I'm going to work and use and add and enrich, the data that's within my possession. Other folks, other people, processes, products, they have their view of the river, and depending on what their roles are, their responsibility, again, they will have some of that common data coming through to them. But they'll also have additional data, provided from different sources, and they're going to work with that, analyze that data, again, update it, enrich it, change it. But the results of the work that they do will then continue to flow downstream, to other positions. Ultimately, all of this process data ends up at the end of the river. And a lot of people tend to see the results more than what's happening upstream or, what happened to the data, to make it get to this point. What prepared it, who created it, who defined it, what decisions were made. They just see the end results. So what if you could account for sustainability and service during design and engineering? What if you could reuse design and engineering data in work orders and preventative maintenance programs? What if you could leverage the technical details of the service requirements during execution? What if you could reduce risks, downtime, and the cost of your assets and maintenance resources? What if you could ensure inventory has the right spare parts for the assets on hand? In the next part of this session, we will talk about the details of the service lifecycle management solution and how our products are interfaced and the value that it provides to our clients. In customer engagements, we see an IT footprint where there are gaps or misalignments in the digital thread. One of the bigger areas for disconnections is between core business systems and their aftermarket product support systems. One specific core system is PLM, managing all that design, engineering, and manufacturing data. If in these situations, information is thrown over the wall to service, but rarely does information ever come back. Usually this information is held closely within the service organization. Not only is information thrown over the wall, but it's also thrown without context or without updates. And as you can imagine, this leads to multiple problems. Key components of service lifecycle management is maintenance. Maintenance is always treated as an expense. This expense can be reduced if connected systems talk to each other. Essential to having common data nomenclature as design with asset lifecycle management for maintenance. Single source of data for maintenance, feedback to design, and ultimately the right part, the right fix, and increasing overall efficiency is the goal. So what is taking the mind share in the aftermarket domain today? Generally, any discussions of aftermarket service typically lead to the topic of Industry 4.0 and how technologies can help. There is significant interest in connected machines that can leverage large amounts of sensor data fed through machine learning, providing insights to improve products and enabling predictive maintenance. This is great technology that is key to comprehensive strategy. And obviously, Siemens and IBM are heavily investing here too. But for complex products, there are additional considerations that must be made in order to fully realize the value these new capabilities can bring. For example, when a predictive maintenance algorithm triggers an event requiring intervention by a technician, are the required parts, asset details, and documentation available to execute the task? Unfortunately, there are typically significant gaps in the available asset information. This can require unexpected investigation by technicians to properly locate the necessary details, potentially resulting in extended downtime. So it is very possible that multiple service calls and extensive downtime would be experienced by the customer. By leveraging our SLM solutions, the on-site technician can now have confidence that they will arrive with everything they need to resolve the issue. They will have the correct parts, knowing they are compatible and meet the latest requirements. They will see the configuration of the asset they expected based on their access to up-to-date physical structure details of the specific asset. They will have specific instructions required to complete their tasks, as these are derived from accurate service plans linked to the latest configuration details. This will allow the technicians to resolve the issue first time, reducing overall downtime. The improvement in customer experience cannot be underestimated and will restore assets to operation as quickly as possible. As part of the Siemens Accelerator portfolio of solutions, Teamcenter Service Lifecycle Management brings together key stakeholders in the service lifecycle and connects various data sources across design, manufacturing, and service. With its proven capabilities, you can capitalize on the reuse of product knowledge from engineering and manufacturing to improve service planning and execution. You can leverage the bill of material data to define the service bill of materials, create and manage service requirements, generate service documentation, and configure and manage the physical structures for each product produced. With all of this information linked together to support configuration and change management processes, the service engineering data in Teamcenter becomes a single source of service information used in downstream applications and processes. You can trust that information used by the technician is accurate, up-to-date, and asset or product specific, providing a single source of truth for all maintenance activities. You can perform service activities with a full understanding of physical asset configurations, including physical BOM records, status, and service history, and gain access to all the appropriate information necessary to manage service operations more effectively. And we recognize that the thread shouldn't stop once the product and service instructions are out the door. We help you connect the dots from engineering to service and then back again to design. Think continuous product improvement and design for serviceability and sustainability, and that is the game changer. The Maximo application suite helps you effectively coordinate operational activities for greater compliance, faster service, and lower costs. Integrating this with Teamcenter allows you to close the loop and feed service information back to design. So here we are again, coming back to the river. Those 3 slides that I showed you earlier, they're all from different points on the same river, the Hudson River. So with this digital thread, what we're doing is uniting engineering to operations and tying it back to, what I call the river story. There are key elements that are being developed throughout the product lifecycle management, from program requirements and risk and reliability through design into manufacturing. And then as these products are rolling off the assembly line, they're being delivered and deployed, with customers. There's the documentation, sustainment and regular maintenance activities that are going on, and the constant analysis. What is happening in the field? What's working? What things are breaking? Bringing that information back into the design world to produce new upgrades and modifications to improve the product offering that's available and to improve future generations of the product that will be delivered. So, but ultimately, everything will come to an end of life and the products will be retired. But those life cycles can go on for 20, 30, 40, or 50 years. So there is a lot of knowledge to be gained and reused by having connected systems. So this video will show you how the Teamcenter and Maximo work together to improve first-time fix-it rates for the technician. So let's look at how Maximo is helping us enhance the operator and maintenance technician. So Brett, over to you.
Thanks, Brian. Let's go ahead and take a look a little bit deeper then on the Maximo side of what we've been really hearing from clients and talking about some of the issues that they see in really managing their equipment over time. And there's a lot of issues that we're seeing on here that some of them can really be addressed by just having this tighter linkage back into the system of record on the PLM side. And that's what we're really starting to address here in our partnership. Now, when we look at the overall enterprise, we're really going to get in there and we're going to focus on a specific part. Our partnership's actually quite broad, both in the engineering side and in the maintenance side. And where we're really tying together with Maximo for service here, and especially as I get into the aviation and into the aerospace and defense world, is I need to start tying together my design areas from the Siemens accelerator into some of the data we might be getting out of manufacturing, but certainly everything I'm getting out of Maximo. And then also, one thing that we're not even showing here, what are the regulatory inputs that I have to address? And I'll talk about those as well. Now, when I look at Maximo overall, we've been in the business for a long time. We are one of the standards that are out there for doing asset management across the enterprise, both in manufacturing and in the owner-operator type world that we might have in aviation. It is really a set of suites with some very specific industry accelerators. And that's what I'm going to address as I get into the components that we bring to bear within our solution. Now, as part of this modern capability, we have all the things that you might expect to need for today's technicians and for really having what we're calling connected maintenance. So everything from the basics of work execution, but through AI-based assistance. What are the type of operations that are working the best? How do I know what are the ones that don't have rework to them? And making sure that we're not using old strategies on how we do maintenance and how we do the actual jobs themselves. Support of safety sensors, support of IoT data, all of that as part of that connected technician. Now, when I get into Maximo for aviation, I said this was an industry accelerator. There are core parts of this that I'll walk through. The first one is, how do I have to address engineering and compliance? So this is the configuration management. So typically in these situations, we're going to have multiple systems that are supporting the configuration of the aircraft, of the asset. And there are both legal issues as well as regulatory issues associated with how that must be managed. So what's really important for us in this particular solution is how I can get the bill of material information as what the as-built information was and bring it into Maximo for aviation. And then I can manage it and make sure that I'm doing all the work associated with as maintained and keeping that up to date. But I also can bring over the maintenance planning information, events management, all the different best practices that Siemens has built into it or you've built into it, utilizing their tools. So how do I take what they've given me for guidance from service lifecycle management into Maximo and use it as my engineering and compliance solution with all the maintenance optimization capabilities, our planning and scheduling, and our work management capabilities that you would expect. But it goes beyond that, which is typical from what a lot of companies have implemented, are just the initial pieces of a solution. You still need to look at material and supply chain services. So we need to be able to deal with inventory. I have spares. Spares might be slightly different than what I have in the original bill of material, right? Spares may have multiple different versions that are supported in here. And you may be able to pick different spares that you want to use for your particular operation on running your aircraft. At the same time, there are procurement and logistics issues. I need to be able to also get into and manage my customer relationship. What are my SLAs associated with this particular contract? So what are the things I need to understand and making sure that I'm billing it as agreed in the contracts and the appropriate pricing based upon location, based upon aircraft, etc. So all of this needs to come together really in support of this overall configuration management, which includes the change control that's coming out of the engineering world and how I keep that in sync to the as-maintained bill of material. So I'm going to be able to look over time and see exactly what my configuration by tail number was for specific dates when operations took place. This is a critical component of ensuring that we are keeping this to the correct regulatory controls that are required. Now, all of this is in here, and we've talked a little bit about that operation. This is truly taking the as-built and as-maintained information that you see here, your ECOs, all the information that we're going at, and these can be combined back into the engineering environment. So you might have, as the operator, a request for something to be changed. You're having a problem in the field that had not been thought of before. I want to be able to link that back to the engineering world so that they can design that in and they can put in the appropriate field fix for you. Okay, so this whole life cycle here is how we're really trying to, increase not only compliance but the efficiency of your operations. All right. Also, things like out of sequence transactions. What does that mean? I'll just dig into that one for a second. What you're really talking about here is that what might have been put together from the engineering perspective said, you got to do this piece, then this piece, then this piece. That's great. You need to be able to do those. But at times, in the field, you've got to do a specific operation to keep the aircraft up and running. And you can do them out of sequence, then go back and fix those things if they were not in a strict order. So you can go in there. I can show that I've done that in the sequence that it was actually done in the field and how it was completed. Okay. So there's lots of really specific use cases that we're supporting that allow you to deal with the reality of the real world of maintaining aircraft out there. And we work not only on the aircraft side, but as you can see, across multiple different areas, especially in the train world, where it has very similar regulatory issues and similar lifespans that I need to be able to deal with. And at the same time, when I go through that, the types of tremendous ROI that we see from our clients, that we hear back from our clients, that we hear back from analysts, is tremendous ROI on here. The number of incidents go down tremendously when you have a comprehensive capability for maintaining the aircraft. It has, tremendous ability to even impact what the individual maintenance operator is able to do. The end user performance goes up. The amount of downtime, which is probably your most critical one and the thing that is going to impact SLAs more than anything, also severely impacted. Okay, so really a tremendous amount of value, and really how we are beginning to address and break down the barriers that Brian brought us.
Thanks, Brett. As you see, not only does Maximo help with, management and oversight of the service operations space, but they also bring a level of, compliance and, visibility into how aircraft are being maintained, and that they're following the letter of the law, to maintain safe operational equipment. So when we started this session, we were talking about how silos still exist and data is thrown over the wall to the next phase of product development. No more throwing data over the wall for a waterfall effect where you risk out of date, data and miscommunication. This is an agile approach to service. The walls are broken down and you can share contextualized data between functional domains from engineering all the way to maintenance and back again, helping you design for service, plan for service, and realize lifecycle success. Therefore, we believe the digital thread for service lifecycle management starts with design process and model-based approaches of systems engineering through engineering and design and into manufacturing. It does not stop after the product leaves the plant or when it is delivered and placed into production, but continues through service to end of life. Together, Siemens and IBM provide solutions that cover a true end-to-end solution. Thank you for your time and attendance on this session.